Good afternoon. This is our second preview webinar of Service World Expo.
Leif, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Matt, Chris, Nate, welcome to our Service World preview. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for presenting this coming October. I have got a sneak peek at what you guys are going to be covering. It's going to be some really cool stuff. So everybody that is on this call today, I know they're going to be in for a treat. And I know it's going to be of value, not only this hour, but when they go to Service World and get to hear you guys and meet you guys in person. And so we've got a lot to cover. There's a lot of good stuff that we want you guys to unpack, but you can't give it away. Don't give it all away. You got to save some for Service World. But that said, let me spend some time just introducing each of you guys, because you guys have some great bios, some great resumes, and in no particular order. I've got Matt over here, Matt Koop. Everyone say hello. He is the VP of the new flat rate. Helps small businesses boost closing rates to 100%. Decades. You don't look that old, Matt, but you've got decades of HVAC, plumbing, and electrical knowledge, experience, wisdom. He's a top coach known. He is a top coach. I will vouch for that. I have been in many of his sessions before. He's awesome. Known for hands-on training across the U.S. and Canada. Matt, welcome. And let's we're just friends here, okay? Tell me something that you do off the clock. Share a little bit. What do you do when you're not working?
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. And first of all, when I'm not working, I'm practicing growing white in my beard. That's the decades right there. I have the white going. Past that, man, I believe that happiness is a choice, and that, they always say money can't buy happiness, but by golly, it can buy me a boat. And so I have a boat, and I spend as much time on it as I can with my 4 children. And soon to have a grandchild as well. And so we live outside and try to stay off the electronics and just enjoy God's creation.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
If anybody's a contractor in the home service world, Matt, I think what you're alluding to is like for every year you're a contractor, you age like 3 or 5, like a dog or a cat, It's a tough business. Yeah. All right. Matt, glad you're here. Chris. Welcome, Chris. Glad you're here. Chris is co-founder of Reigns. It's a pretty cool thing. This is a pretty cool gig that he's got. It's a pioneering technology firm founded in 2023, dedicated to empowering small businesses through modern equity solutions. He helps small business owners customize and implement employee retention plans to help them hang onto their company's key personnel. Chris, glad you're here.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, happy to be here.
And Chris, what do you do off the clock?
What's off the clock, Tom? I spend most of my time working, and that's not a joke. You can ask my wife. But in the small time that I do have free, relaxing at home with the family, I like to stay active, go to the gym, spend time outdoors like Matt. I've got a small mountain property in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California, and I like working on that. Reconnect. I spend so much time standing in front of this computer that I like to do the exact opposite when I'm not. So that's what I like to do.
Excellent. That sounds wonderful when you can do that. Yeah. Good to have you here, Chris. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we've got Nate. Nate, welcome. Nate.
Thank you.
3rd generation plumber from PA. 30 plus years of experience owning a multi-million-dollar service company. Founded the plumbing CEO to train techs and leaders. As an author and coach, he's passionate about ethical growth, organizational health, and helping those in the trades find balance and fulfillment. Nate, plumbing CEO, welcome to the webinar. Glad you're here.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Awesome. So excited to be coming back to Service Expo, man. It's going to be so good. I love what you guys do there, and really appreciate you inviting me in.
Absolutely. And tell me real quick, what do you do off the clock?
Off the clock, I love fly fishing. So if I'm not chasing my kiddos around, you can find me on a stream. Trout definitely don't live any ugly places, and so I like to go to all those beautiful places that they live and fish there.
Man, what's your favorite place you like to go to?
Ooh, man. So Pennsylvania obviously has got lots of lime streams, so I would be a fool on the webinar to not say Pennsylvania streams are phenomenal. But when I'm not there, I sneak off to Connecticut. They have some beautiful streams there as well, and it's not too far of a drive.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, let's dig into what you guys are going to talk about. That's the reason why we've got these attendees here today. That's what they came for, to find out a little bit more about what they're going to experience if they're in your session at Service World. And Matt, I'm going to come back to you. You've got a title that says Deal or No Deal. What's that about? What are they in for?
It's a good question. Well, we'll likely open some cases, that's for sure. Outside of that, Tom, I've been focusing on this my whole career, on this really one statement. And the statement is, where do objections come from? And I've learned over the years that I believe that we create our own objections, that most objections are a direct result to something that was said or done prior to the moment that they actually came up. So it could have been, starting in the office to the moment that we got to the call. And so kind of during all this session, we're going to be going through not only some of the basics of how do I make sure that I'm presenting myself in a confident manner that makes somebody want to buy from me through physiology, tonality, but most of it is not just that. It's really comes down to what is your proven process that helps you not say stupid shit in front of the customer.
Hey, you're talking contractor talk. I like it. Okay. All right. Excellent. And I've sat in the years past, Matt, in some of your training. And I mean, you do have that dialed in to do this, don't do that. And I remember how you'd even break it down into the specific words. Is it important to be that granular? I mean, I've seen you do it and you seem passionate about it, but can that really make that big of a difference to dial it in that tight?
That's a really good question. And not to be cocky about it, it really just depends on how many zeros you want on the end of your paycheck. And that sounds extreme. Like some guys they're like, hey, I'm just not greedy. But it's not about being greedy. It's about, first of all, I believe we all have a purpose in life, and there's something that God put me on this earth to do. And money is a fuel to helping make that happen. And so there's all these guys that are like, well, I'm not motivated by money, but yet they don't realize that sometimes that means that the customer that they're serving isn't getting what they actually wanted either. Like so many companies, they these techs, they'll go into jobs and they like, oh, there's the one part that's broke. Let's just focus on that. Let's get out of here. I'm the hero. And you know what? You are a hero. Great job fixing it. But if it breaks down in 2 weeks, you don't look like the hero. And I've been focusing a lot lately, Tom, it's kind of funny of what's the difference. What are pretty much all superheroes, whether in the Marvel universe or the DC universe, doesn't matter, have in common if we remove the exception of Iron Man and Batman? Question, what do they all have in common?
They're not human. They're like
they're not human. They're alien, right?
Some of them are. The answer is they're broke. They're absolutely broke. But not only are they broke, they don't usually have a family, and their personal person in real life, most people look down on them and despise them, and they're just not getting a lot done. So without their mask, they're kind of nothing. And we build this hero complex, and we're like, oh, I'm going to go in there and fix it, and that's why the customer called you, but they didn't. And so as we go through deal or no deal, I'm going to be taking everybody through, hey, what are some proven processes, some simple things you can do from the moment your truck enters the driveway, from how you carry yourself, but also some things you can say, some of my tips and tricks for being a multi-million-dollar tech. But it's not just that, the tips and tricks that can help elevate you, because if you don't have a process that is your starting point, then you're just leaving everything up to chance. But not only that is are you actually helping the customer? Because these customers that I talked about, they didn't actually call you to fix it. I know people think that that's what they called you for, but you see, they didn't call. If we took 100 phone calls today and from your service companies, they took 100 phone calls and actually deciphered them, we would find that less than 1% of them will actually ask for a specific part. We'll call this the part. And so they less than 1% of them will call and say, hey, Nate, give me that bottle. I need a bottle of water. Do you have a bottle of water? They don't do that. They call and they ask for help. And so they're saying, hey, my world is in turmoil. I have something that's disrupting my peace. Can you please send a professional out here that can not only find out what the thorn is, but can you send somebody that can keep my world from disrupting again? And so through the process of deal or no deal, we're going to challenge some of those things that you're doing. And we're going to challenge them and say, hey, what is this doing in the customer's mind? Is it bringing them peace that says, hey, if I buy from these people, I'm going to have limited problems in the future? Or is it bringing them risk that says, hey, if I do that, if I take that deal this way, is it going to break down again in 2 weeks?
So, I picture myself sitting in your presentation, Matt, and I remember years ago when I was, a young comfort consultant. That was kind of my pathway. And how do you keep people having that internal dialogue, saying, well, I'm not an extrovert like Matt, or man, I'm just not all that detail oriented, or this maybe works for some people, but I don't know if it'll work for me. How do you overcome, that scripting in their own minds, which may be, well, I'm not like Matt, so I just got to be me. How do you try to overcome it? Because I'm sure you deal with that, when you talk to some contractors or technicians one-on-one.
Oh, 100% every day. And the simple, just a fun fact though, Tom, Matt wasn't always like this either. I was a major introvert that didn't want to talk to customers. But the one thing that made me unique is something that's similar with, I believe, almost every tradesperson. And that's the fact that I have a desire to help people. And I have a desire to bring peace into the household and to make it so they don't have to worry. This is one thing that I can do. And so when I'm working with service techs and managers and owners about, hey, how do we overcome that dialogue? The first thing is to recognize what it is. It's just a feeling. And feelings aren't true or false. They're just a feeling. And once you can recognize, wait a minute, this is a feeling, then we can look at, I was listening to a guy named Charlie Kirk the other day, and he was talking about the important role of what it actually means to be a man. And he said one thing that it means is you have to be able to distinguish the difference between logic and feeling and emotion. And I think that's where people miss it. They're like, oh, it's all about, I don't know if this is right. I don't feel. Wait a minute. Logic as a trade professional allows me to look at a situation and say, wait a minute, what's really going on here? Is there just one part that's actually corrupt, or is it just the first part that's corrupt? And so what does this person need? Do they need, me to talk to them about an entire replacement? Maybe they do, but I have to get past the feeling of I can just go in there and pick up a bottle of water and leave, and I'm the hero. And I have to look at the logic and say, wait a minute, what's the condition of the other bottles? Are they empty too? I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good, because Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, most people don't realize how much feeling and logic are intertwined in everything we do. And sometimes, to your point, yeah, it can impact your performance and deduct a zero or not even add the zero, however you want to look at it.
So bad, so bad. And you know, I think it comes down to, you know, understanding that in everything that I teach, you asked me the question, how important are the words that we say? The words are important, but you don't have to be a great talker, because what I've learned is it actually takes less words than you would think for more success. It's usually about cutting things out of what we're doing and adding. And honestly, our overall confidence level and body language controls a lot more of the outcome than the words that we say. So I can give you some tips and tricks on how to tune up your words, but it really comes down to what are the best ways that I can improve my confidence in front of the customer.
Man, so here's the thing, Matt. I think it's going to be so good. I bet they could probably take some of that psychology and behavioral teaching that you're going to provide, and they could probably improve their communication with their spouse.
Probably 100%.
I remember years ago, my wife would say, "Stop talking. I just want you to listen to me." So, yeah.
I don't know if any of us have solved that problem yet, Tom.
Matt, okay, good stuff. I'm going to circle back here in a little bit, but let's move over to Chris. Chris, all right, I'm putting you on the hot seat. Get ready.
All right.
Your title was Breaking the Cycle, How to Reduce Employee Turnover. Man, that's a hot topic. It's hard to recruit them. It's hard to keep them. It's a big challenge. So unpack a little bit about what you plan on covering in Service World.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. So like you said, it's no surprise this won't be a hidden problem for any contractor in the room, right? The labor market, particularly in the skilled trades, is in high demand, low supply, right? We're also fighting against what I would call big business, right? You know, the independent guys having to compete with talent from private equity or larger firms. And you know, there is no silver bullet. We assume that you have a good culture, right? It starts with a good culture to retain and recruit the best people. But there are some tools that contractors need to know about that have been historically reserved for big business. And so we call a lot of those tools under the umbrella of alternative equity. And so alternative equity incentives like phantom stock, profit sharing can be leveraged to recruit and retain key talent. And not only that, but align the team to the goals of the business. And so we plan on doing some general education on what alternative equity is, how you can leverage it as an independent contractor. And we're also going to walk through some pretty neat exercises, I think, where we can actually model out, you know, so what are some of the goals of the folks in the room? Are we looking to sell in the next 3 to 5 years? Are we looking to grow? Are we looking to do both? And we can walk through how they can actually go home and create, whether it's a long-term incentive plan, a short-term incentive plan, or both, by walking them through some exercises. Where do we want to be? Do we know what that magic number is, where we want to land to sell the business? Do we know what the budget needs to be in order to hit that in 3 to 5 years? And how can we structure incentives in such a way that helps us get there, maintain profitability along the way, and retain the key folks that we need in order to hit those milestones? So we're gonna start high level, but we're gonna get tactical and actually have the folks walk away with some tools that they can leverage for free to do this in their business tomorrow and compete against everyone else that's competing for their talent.
Yeah, I love this topic that you're going to cover, Chris, because you know, at Service Nation we talk about, you know, that the benefit package that you used to give employees back in the day, And this is a bitter pill for like baby boomers that are still trying to figure out how to scale their company. They're used to, my benefit package comes with overtime, and if you want more money, you just work more. So share a little. I mean, are you seeing what you're offering, what you're educating on? Is this part of what you feel better meets the needs of the current workforce that the trades desperately need to attract and retain? This is not necessarily. I don't know if you're reinventing the wheel or what is this?
Yeah, you sounded like my old man there for a second, Tom.
Oh.
No, it's funny. So, to answer your question, alternative equity is everything that traditional equity incentives are not. So traditional equity incentives may be a foreign concept to contractors because they have historically been inaccessible to contractors, which is why we have reinvented the wheel, so to speak, on alternative equity. Now, to answer your question on why do I think that this is, these things meet the needs of millennials or, whatever, the current workforce, I actually take a position somewhere in the middle, I think, on this, which is I actually, I might align more with my old man. And I think what the neat thing with alternative equity is it's designed to, these incentives are designed to elicit a behavioral change. So what a lot of folks get wrong with, trying to cater to the millennials is they think that they need all the perks. They throw bonuses at them, beanbag chairs, all of the tropes. But what happens is you create entitlements, and alternative equity incentives are not that. So a good incentive program is designed to be a win-win. My team loves when I say this. I say this saying about every single day. It's a rising tide lifts all boats type of situation where you can create an incentive that says you get paid when you provide an outstanding outcome and the business also meets their goals. Right. And so this is where a lot of folks get it wrong, where it's like they think they just need more salary, more bonus, more money, more benefits. No, actually, you need to align the goals of the business with the financial outcomes for employees, ensure that you're communicating that in an effective way, increasing the visibility of what those goals are and what I can do as an individual to drive those goals. And then you've created yourself a win-win situation that does cater to the current and future workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if this is where you guys are in this space in terms of alternative equity, but in my research and what I've seen and how well I've seen it work, it kind of reminds me, and let me know if this is kind of where you guys are at in terms of communicating this to the market in the home service space. But I remember, 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was beginning to hear about this AI thing, and they were intrigued. And then now we see massive adoption of AI. I get a sense that, you may be in the early stages of, guys, you just got to see what this is as a potential recruiting and retaining tool, whether you use it or not. It'd be good to get educated. Am I kind of on the right track?
Yeah, I think we're on the same planet here, Tom. I think a lot of the contractors we've spoken to have thought about this. They've heard of these types of systems, but nothing's ever been really simple, accessible to them. And that's what we do at Reigns, right? We're actually a technology company. So what we do is we make it really simple for contractors to set these programs up and implement them with their team. But that's aside from the session at Service World. At Service World, I want the folks that come to my session to be able to take away a bunch of free tools, irregardless of what we do at Reigns, to be able to implement these programs on their own. And I have a hunch, to your point, that the room will have heard of these things, and they just won't have known how accessible they may actually be to them. And I think you're right. I think in the next handful of years, and I think it's spurred by, the sort of silver tsunami of contractors passing their businesses on to the next generation and starting to think about succession, starting to think about the next generation of contractors that are going to take these businesses over. They need these tools beyond the tight labor conditions. They need these tools to start thinking about what's next for their business.
Yeah, it just makes me think that this could potentially be another avenue to retain the superstars that you have that oftentimes in the past would have started their own company because you just really couldn't come up with the right solution for them. I know as a contractor myself, I had lots of superstars that I just couldn't keep them. I didn't have all, and then they started their own company. So yeah, I'm excited to hear your session at Service World, Chris. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And now, last but not least, Nate in a box. Look at you. You're stuck in a box over here, but we're still going to show you some love. Nate, that's just kind of what it reminds me of in a good way. It's a good box because you are covering, your title is Stepping into the Future or Stepping Out. Good hook. It's intriguing.
Yeah.
What are you gonna be covering, Nate?
Yeah, we're really going to be talking about preparing for growth or strategic exit. And I'm really excited to show a picture of a Wall Street Journal clip. And the title of the slide says, "Who wants to be a millionaire?" Right? And the concept of that is Wall Street Journal put an article out this year that said the new millionaire class in America will be plumbing and HVAC business owners. And it's such a unique time in history for tradespeople. I mean, I'm a third gen plumber, so I saw my grandpa grow up into it, my dad growing up into it. My dad was always saying, "Oh, if somebody would buy us, if I could ever sell the business, that would be amazing." And the number just kept increasing as we kept making more money and growing. And now, for the first time, there's actually an opportunity where every day tradespeople are getting emails in their inboxes or phone calls saying, like, "We want to buy you, we want to buy you, we want to buy you." And not only are they getting bought out and stepping into that, but then they're getting to work back in their business at a job as an advisor, maybe a salesperson, maybe a tech, and getting paid to do that. And so they're getting the best of all the worlds where they can retire or they can do that. And so it's created a lot of confusion for tradespeople to say, like, it's now the right time, is now not the right time, right? And so, my goal for this session is really to just kind of help you and ask intriguing questions to help you kind of understand your business timeline. And then using that timeline sort of as like a compass, right? Like, it's giving us direction and guidance on maybe where we're going. Are we going to grow? Are we going to sell? Do we have a succession plan? Maybe we're kind of doing both right now because we're not totally sure. And so we're just going to kind of unpack that. And we're going to unpack, understanding the timeline, good growth strategies. What does it actually mean to prepare and sell or to exit your company, showing them some options and explaining that, and then kind of just giving them some strategic thoughts and considerations at the end that kind of tying it all together. So I'm excited. It's I'm helping coach owners, and I've done this myself and read talks on it, and have a lot of friends in the M&A world, and it's been really neat to be able to kind of step in and try to help a contractor on this topic.
And Nate, it is a very important topic, without a doubt. But at the same time, I'm sure you've dealt with. It kind of reminds me of sitting down with your parents and saying, "Hey guys, you don't have a will. You need, Mom, Dad, you need to have a will. What's the plan when you kick the bucket?" And oftentimes, the majority, I would argue, of parents are like, "I don't want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable." How do you overcome that uncomfortable conversation, or just getting them to be open that it's okay to think and talk about something that may happen in the future. It could be here or there. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really tough one because when I think about like my grandpa, my dad, and some of the older generation, you wouldn't be included in this, Tom. You're much younger than that. Just thinking through of people who their identity is in their work, their identity is in their business, and so it's very, very hard to even get them to get their mind around the concept of what it would look like to be away from the business. But right, when you're trying to love your kids and you're trying to help give them direction, I always like to say, like, crisis or change is coming. No matter how great you run your business, no matter what you do, like economical change, world change, like change in your body, change in your leadership, like anything can happen, right? And my story, right, is business was fine. We were hitting the best strides we could ever hit. We were growing in ways we never could. My dad had no will. My dad had no succession plan. And then my mom gets stage 4 cancer and passes super fast, right? And that was ground earth shattering for him. That created change and led to me taking over the business, right, and buying it from him. And so then, right, that's not what you want to do. That has a lot of pain and has a lot of hardship around it. And so I like to try to share that story because it's a painful story that I went through, and I'm trying to help others to say, like, hey, how can you guard your family from this? How can you guard your business and the people from that? Because it wasn't just my life that had massive change, right? The culture had a massive rift when that change came, because there was no plan, there was no direction. It was just like, we're doing it, we're putting out the fires, we're making the money, right? With no foresight of like, how many years? 5 years, 10 years? What about my kids? What about my key employees? Like Chris just talked about, right? I think like those are really important things that owners have to get their minds around if they actually want to keep key people.
Yes. So is this a conversation that somebody that is 3 years into their journey should be having or thinking about? Or is what you plan to share only relevant for somebody that is 10 million in revenue and or they're 60 years old and they got a mole that they're worried about, that they're going to have cancer? Could this be for any size contractor?
Yeah, I think it can be. I think that there's you have to understand, like, there's different types of people buying businesses right now. So right, if everyone hears the word PE, and that can be a scary word. It could be a word you hate because competition got bought up by PE, and now you are really bitter about that. PE tends to lean towards the bigger, safer businesses. So if you're in that $3 million, $5 million range, it's going to be very difficult to get picked up by PE. But I was on a call earlier today, and a guy's out in Salt Lake City, and the first thing he said to me was like, "Hey, if you know any plumbing companies, big or small, that are looking to sell, we'd love to buy them. We got an HVAC company, and we would love to just acquire a plumbing company and bring them in." Right? And so I think it's like any size can be a part of it. But like, what are your goals as an owner, right? Like, are you a 40-year-old becoming an owner, or are you a 20-year-old becoming an owner? Like, if you're a 20-year-old becoming an owner, I don't know if that's like the best thing. I mean, you shouldn't treat the trades as a side gig and just try to flip it. We're not flipping houses here. We're like building careers and stability in America and lives and careers, right? Like we take our trade pretty seriously. So I don't think we should treat it flippantly. But I know a guy that he bought it from his father-in-law, and he's 45, and he's been running for 5 years, and he's got a second kid on the way. And somebody came along and said, like, "I'd love to make you a partner and buy a majority." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm dying for a partner. I'm in." Right. So it's just like, I think, but because he was open to the conversation when he stepped into that, and he was thinking about his future, and he was thinking about his long-term play, it made him more willing to hear that. I mean, to this day, like, so many people don't even open those emails and consider them when they say, like, "Are you buying?" Oh, scam. Maybe, or maybe not. Right.
So, Nate, it sounds like if this could potentially at worst, even for a guy sitting in there that thinks, well, I'm not going to do anything for another 20 years in terms of exit. But it sounds like you could still show them some things they can do along the way to improve the functionality, the productivity, the effectiveness of their organization that will benefit them along the way to the eventual, whether it's a sell to PE or whatever. Is that some of the benefits they can derive as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, I think that's part of the growth piece, right? Like everybody wants to grow their business. Nobody wants to stay stagnant. Right. And I think so often in the trades, having a strategic plan is just like unheard of. Like, what do you mean strategic plan? Like, we made 3 million last year. We're going to try to make 3.5 million this year. We got 10 techs. We're going to try to get 2 more techs, right? Like that, that's like strategic plan, right? But strategic plans are 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals. So you're always looking at 5. You're always looking at 5 out. So that's half a decade. And so the next year when it comes, you're looking at 5 out. You're looking at 5 out, right? And so it's like at some point in time, if you're looking deep enough into your business when you're setting your goals and your metrics and your processes to say, like, we want to go somewhere and do something and accomplish something, at some point that leads to, like, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna be old and I don't want to do this forever. So, like, what's the plan, right? And so, like, you can start thinking about that even if you don't know along the way. And that's kind of what I'm trying to give you. Like, it's okay to say, like, I don't want to sell, I want to grow. Great, we're going to give you principles to do that, but we're also going to tickle your ear a little bit of what selling looks like and some options that are out there. And in case you do read one of those emails or you do inquire about it, you're not as scared, you're educated and can maybe start to consider what succession looks like.
All right, Nate, I'm going to throw you a curveball question because. So let me ask you this. Let's just say it's you and I on this call. Are there some people that just they can't manufacture vision, or they don't have a strategic muscle necessarily? I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking, do you ever, I mean, is sometimes that's the case? Because I would imagine sometimes it's hard to get them to be strategic. It's visionary. I don't know. That may be too hot of a topic, but what are your philosophical thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree because, right, we all grew up, in a truck, like, sweeping floors, putting fittings away and doing service calls, right? Like, you didn't learn schooling, you didn't learn strategic plan, you didn't learn balance sheets and P&Ls, and the word KPI and EBITDA mean absolutely nothing to you, right? And nor should they, because you're a tradesman and that's not what you do. But right, as technicians grow to CEOs, as technicians grow to owners, right, there's a responsibility that in that growth, right, especially if you're going to be taking the growth of the wealth of the company and reaping some of that reward, is that we're growing in our knowledge and education is what it means to lead what was once a 1 or 2 person company now to a 20, 40, 60, 70 person company, right? We have a responsibility to doing that. And so it's okay that you don't know it. It's not okay to stay there. And I think, right, there's really great coaching out there. There's really great wise people who have been in the trades businesses, right? You guys offer that. There's other really great companies out there that help coach come alongside and say, like, hey man, it's okay that you don't know your P&L. It's okay that you don't know what a benchmark is, and understanding COG percentages, right, to revenue and to labor. That's okay. Like, you don't have to know all that, but like, we do need to learn that, right? And as we learn that, then you start understanding what it really means to move the needle in your business, what it really means to drive growth in your business. And then that what leads to big valuations, right, that come when you do want to do succession planning or sell your business. Yeah. So I would say go get a good coach, right, that helps you fiscally and helps you operationally, strategically think.
Yeah, preach it. Absolutely, Nate. Yeah. I wish I could take a lot more credit for what I've accomplished over the years, but every step of the journey, it's a coach or a mentor that got me there. every step of the journey, you know.
Every way.
Yeah, they're so beneficial. Absolutely.
Right.
Nate,
And
that's
then
awesome.
you're good people.
Yeah.
Right. You're good people around you. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Matt, I'm going to circle back around to you. And, you know, on the webinar, we want to give somebody just a little nugget that they can take away. A little something, you know, they're going to have a cool experience with you at Service World. But what's a little nugget that you can kind of give them? It doesn't necessarily have to be part of your breakout session. It could be something that's on your heart and your mind. Share something that you think, you know, may be helpful to whoever's attending this webinar.
Thank you for that, Tom. You know, first of all, people ask me, Matt, you know, why don't you just run your contracting business anymore? And the reason is because my reach personally for my life mission had to expand. And one of my life goals, which is the new flat rates kind of slogan and motto, is that we keep families together by making business profitable. And so, you know, the question that I have for everybody, like we're going to be going through this in this session as well. I teach a very, very interactive workshop. I'm not going to stand on a stage and preach to people. We're going to go through and we're going to fix some stuff. But that little piece that's been on my mind, and I wrote it down as a note here, says, you know, what does it mean to be a closer? And I've learned over the years that closing starts with hello. It's not about getting the check. The first thing we have to do is be able to get the, hey, you're welcome to come into my home. You know, if somebody's not willing to let you walk into their home, or not that they're not willing to, but if they're not comfortable with it, like if you haven't already won them over at the front door, you're going to have a really hard time asking for any amount of money later on. And so I guess if I had to say, hey, you know, here's something to chew on between now and October when you come out to hang out with us, is, you know, how are you closing your hello? And what's happening between that and what are your series of closes that you're working on closing before you actually get to the question of, will you pay me?
That's good. Good stuff. Yep. Very good, Matt. All right, Chris, that's going to be hard for you to follow up, but you give it a shot, see what happens.
You put Matt in front of me all day. It's a curse.
What's a little takeaway? What's on your heart and mind that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, so for those folks who have been on the webinar today, you may have heard me say alternative equity a few times and have no idea what the hell that means. You know, in this session, we'll go over what that means and how it can be used as a simple and affordable tool for you. So that's obviously a key takeaway of what my session is going to be. But today I can give a very good takeaway, even if you don't know what alternative equity means, because most people will have some incentive or bonus structure in their business, period. And the most common mistake that's super easy to solve is to stop overcomplicating it. If you can barely understand, if you come back to the spreadsheet and you're like, how does this bonus work again? If you can't understand it, good chances your employees can't understand it, and therefore you're not actually getting the outcome that you intended on when granting that bonus or incentive. And so, you know, with the best intentions, we find that contractors and just business owners of any shape and size overcomplicate compensation, break it down, simplify it, and I guarantee you're going to get just a little bit more juice out of it just by doing that one thing.
Nice. I like it. So, Chris, let me ask you this. You know, you guys all got me thinking about dying and estate planning, and you know what am I going to do with my kids? What if I restructure my estate planning where I just say, kids, we're doing some phantom stock. I want win-win. You know, can I do that for my kids? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just buy them a boat. They run your company. They can use it.
Yeah. Nate, what's a little takeaway? What's on your heart and mind that you want to share?
Yeah, I think this whole group is just on the theme of it, and I really love it. Last year at Service World, I talked on growing your business and not burning out, and that has just been a relevant theme within the trades. That there are people that are just grinding, and they have no goal, no end in mind, right? And they just think that time is unlimited, and I think it's not. And I think we need to make sure we spend time to hold our wives' hands and be present dads and think about succession planning and think about long-term future. And so, thinking about your question, Tom, as we looped back around there, right? Like, you might not be strategic that you can write your own strategic plan, but you can get a piece of paper and you can write down what you want your kids and your neighbors and your friends to say at your eulogy. Right. And I guarantee you, it's not like, damn, he worked 90 hours and was a really good businessman and died fat and happy. Right. Like, no, nobody wants to hear that at their eulogy. They want to hear, like, he was a good friend. He always answered the phone. He made time for me. He was present at my baseball game. He taught me how to run a business. He taught me how to, right. He cared for my future. He figured out a way to pay for my college. Right. Like, things of very, very deep meaning. And sometimes we get the cart before the horse and we think like the business is the deep meaning, and it's not. It's just a tool to help us get to the deep meaning. And so I hope that, like, as this helps us think, this session coming up talks about like the future thinking, and last year's session on burnout, we can kind of connect the dots and say, like, let's be amazing tradespeople, but let's get really healthy in that process.
Yeah. That's good stuff, Nate. Yeah, I appreciate that. You guys collectively remind me of, our mission statement, which is to change contractors' lives for the better. And you guys are going to provide tools and vehicles to change their business for the better, which change their lives for the better. Just going back to, what Matt kicked off on his takeaway. So this conference coming up, Matt, let me go back to you. You've put on conferences. You've attended conferences. If you had some best practices when it comes to how do you maximize the benefits of showing up to a conference? What are some of the lessons you've learned? What would you like to share to these attendees on why they need to go and what do they need to do while they're there?
Yeah, it's a great question. Tom, I think that it has to do with the advice that I give everybody that sits in any of my training events I put on. I always ask them, I say, first and foremost, take all the knowledge that you've learned up to this point when you're going to show up that morning and do your best to just put it on the shelf. Stop worrying about what you believe to be true or not true, because otherwise you're going to be fighting everything new that comes to the table. And that's one of the biggest problems is people, they hear something that could be life-changing to them, but because we don't want to leave our comfort zone of knowledge, they just block it out. And so start by just putting everything you know to be true today on the shelf. It'll be there later for you. And then just go there and be a sponge, not to learn everything, but to hear everything. So hear what you can, take it in. And then when you're ready to leave, I learned something from a friend of mine called brain writing, and or even known as a brain dump. But brain writing is when you don't brainstorm. Like if we all brainstorm right here and say, hey, let's brainstorm some good ideas. Problem with brainstorming in a group of people is whoever goes first tends to lead the conversation. But brain writing is saying, don't say anything, just grab a piece of paper and just dump everything on it. Just write it all down, anything that comes to mind. What did I get out of this? What did I learn? And just dump random thoughts on it. And then go back, and even if you got other people that are there with you, compare notes and just try to pick one. And say, how out of all these things that I got, what's the one thing that we can take and meditate on and make an effective change in our life, in our company.
And Matt, would they do that at the end of the conference, or do they do that throughout the conference?
That's a good question. I usually do it at the end, but it's a multi-day conference. It's going to be a lot of stuff. So writing it down every single day is probably the best way to have those memories intact, for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that before, but that makes sense. Chris, I'm not going to make you follow up after that. That was, he's woo, that was strong. And so,
See?
Nate, what do you got, man? What's best? How do you get the most out of a conference? And Chris will close.
Yeah. For me, I think so often you get into the floor, right? And you see all the tables, and you're looking at the swag on the tables, and you're reading the sign of who they are, and you're like, oh, I have a marketing company. Oh, I have a software. Oh, I have a GPS. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have this, right? And you're just blowing by looking for your thing. And I think what you forget is that there's all kinds of people at those tables, and relationship is so key. And as tradespeople, we tend not to be the best at relationship. We want to make a good relationship with the customer real quick. We do our thing and get out. But like those long, deep relationships that you can have with a supply house, or maybe a future buyer, or a marketing company, or a coach, right? Like those are the kind of things you want to do, is meet the people, talk to everybody, just learn and listen. And yes, they're going to try to sell you something, or they're going to try to share something with you, but you never know what you're going to get out of that. And I think the more we can press into building community and networking relationships together, the healthier you'll be, the more you will learn along the way. And you just never know what tool from that handshake you're going to get that helps change your entire business.
Oh, that's so true. What's ironic, Nate, is, in the home service space, we know customers have used their guy they've always used. And to your point, if they just knew how good you were, whether you're HVAC, all the benefits you could bring, from Phantom, equity to, better systems and processes. But I like what you said. As contractors, we kind of do that even with our vendors. Well, I've always used the same one. But we wonder, how come our customers do that to us? But so that's good. Yeah. We should practice a little bit what we preach and what we hope for even our own customers back at our vendors. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah, I remember over the years, attending conferences. Effectively, what I would find out when I spent time with a vendor is that I've been chopping with an axe, and they were saying, "Hey, look at my chainsaw." I just had to take time for them to see, oh, that's a better tool. It'd been a long time. And I'd argue that there's a lot of new and improved tools better than before if people will just spend time with those vendors. Very good.
Absolutely. Good relationships and good people, they're there sacrificing their time to help you. It's worth getting to know them.
Well, Chris, man, I accidentally actually doubled down on the pressure for you, because now we've heard some good stuff from Matt and Nate, but no, Chris, I know you've got some good stuff. What's on your heart and mind that you'd like for the attendees to hear today?
Yeah, I thought Matt's was good, but then Nate went. Tom, I don't know what you're doing with me. See, the benefit of going last is I can say Matt and Nate just crushed it, and I have just a very small thing to add, which is if it's me, it's just trying to be present. I think there's so much going on, and I think there's probably only so many things that you can retain, and so to maybe pick a track or two where what are the most palpable challenges in my business today, and maybe try and find some topics that relate to that, and kind of narrow in on that would be my strategy, just personally. I actually really like what Nate said. I think if a vendor's worth their salt too in the trade show, like you're gonna have a great conversation. They're gonna show you the chainsaw, and how you can leverage that to your benefit. I think that's true for most vendors. probably at this conference, and people just don't take advantage of the fact that people will spend time with you and they will provide value before receiving any back, at least again if the vendor's worth their salt. So I think that's a good strategy. And you can't do any of this if you drink too much before my session and at 8 a.m. in the morning. So I just make that recommendation.
I
Like you said, be present and pick a track. Man, I think that one of the big benefits of just over the years of going to trade shows that our company had is anytime we could bring more than one person, we did. And so if you can bring your other managers, your spouse, even the more people on your team and your influence that you can get on the same page, I think what Chris just said is easier to get off the ground. You can actually fix that track. If we're going and saying, hey, we're going to work together and we're going to solve this. You go over there, you go over there. Let's compare notes. It goes a long ways.
Very good. I like it. Yep. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out. And thank you for sharing a little bit about what you're covering in Service World. And for all of our attendees, just look at these guys. They're sharp. They're good looking. They're smart. You're in for a treat. Go see them in October. It's going to be great. Matt, Chris, Nate, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it and look forward to seeing you guys in October.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. See you later.